Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Mike Shea, Transworld Business Advisors. It is a Friday before the 4th of July, and I wanted to take an opportunity to go through. I had some downtime, so I was going to do some how you value certain businesses videos. So let's get into it. Give me a second while I share my screen. If I remember how to do that. So what we're going to talk about today is HVAC companies. And again, bear with me while I do this. Here we go. All right, cool. So how do you value, let's get into slide share mode. So how do you value HVAC companies? Ooh, that's not going to work. Let's do it this way. Anyways, let's do it this way. So skip through a little bit about Transworld, but here are the key drivers in this process. When you look up here, this data is drawn from the Business Reference Guide, and I really think this one's important, and I think this one's important. We'll get into what the actual things sell for in Florida. This plus inventory thing is frankly nonsense. It doesn't happen when there's financing involved. But let's talk about this. And a key takeaway I want you to take about the mix of businesses, that new construction is tempting and profitable, but very dangerous because a little thing your mom and dad told you when you were a kid, which was don't put all your eggs in one basket. So you'll notice that maintenance and replacement make up about 40%. So it's like a 50-50 split apart from the refrigeration part of the business, right? So you want to have 50 to 70% of your business coming from service. The margins are good. It's consistent revenue. The buyers love it. It's not as profitable as new construction, but if you're all in one basket, going back and getting, and I think a little bit of new construction is a good thing because you're the first one to touch the customer and put your sticker on that machine. But be careful of taking on one in HOA new build and then getting stuck doing new construction, because you won't have time to service your old customers. And when new construction dries up, somebody else will already have captured that customer. So that's my takeaway on there. Your benchmarks here, low overhead. You can control revenue or payroll as a percentage of revenue. You really want to be around that 25. I think 28 in the current world is kind of the reality with the low unemployment we see. So the key drivers of value: service, service, service. I can't tell you how often I see property or HVAC companies not being service oriented and chasing short-term margin. 5-to-1 ratio in-house back office to people in the field. The other thing is 200 and 250 revenue per employee is kind of the target, including the people in the rear, right, in the office, because it's still cost. Customers, it's tempting to, and as operators, most small business owners don't know how to capture and keep. So you need to invest in CRM. You need to be fanatical about getting contact information and developing a plan to automate through AI and CRM to touch those customers through social media platforms, direct mail campaigns, email blasts. And I think a tool would be to educate the consumer about how to do maintenance themselves. The reality is most people won't. There's always going to be someone that does. You want to capture that customer too when it's time to replace, but the majority of them are too lazy to do it, particularly people like me, the double income family that has a full-time job. Industry, what are we seeing in the trends? Good industry, good trends. It's all tied to new construction, the explosion of population, particularly in the South. Franchising is starting to happen in the industry, and they're bundling, doing like a Dunkin' Baskin model, donut and ice cream. So you're seeing guys doing HVAC electrical, HVAC plumbing is probably the more common. So there's your takeaways there. Value drivers continued. As in any business, you got to have good books and records. If you don't have good books and records, you're not going to be able to finance the deal. Sticky revenue, that means service. You got to have service. One-time revenue doesn't really count in the valuation model. Technology and bookkeeping, you want to have QuickBooks. You want to have a CRM database. The more data you have, the buyers are expecting it, so you better have it. It's a discriminator. And sales and marketing, the more you're in this business, the more you'll be feeling competition from the do-it-yourself world, from the Home Depots. We're trying to capture that consumer to buy direct from them. Hell, you walk into a Sam's Club, they're buying in volume because of all the other stuff they sell, and they're using subcontractors to do the install. Those are real threats, not just other HVAC companies. So here's your data I really want you to focus on. 237 of these sold in the last 10 years in Florida. The average size and gross sales of the business is 1.4. So that's that 5 to 6 people business. Average sales price of those was about 708. There's a lot of drivers in there. The average multiple and mean average on the SD&E is 3.7 to 1.97. Average SD&E was 267 of that same company at 1.4. SD&E mean 181. I think the variable you'll see in those is fixed overhead. Do they rent? Do they not rent? Are they in a big city where they pay a lot? Are they in the outliers where they don't? Rent to the percentage of sales generally should be about 1%. You shouldn't be paying 2, 3, 4. You're giving money away because nobody comes to your location for a nice office. Average days on the market is 267. Why? Because you overprice. You overprice. You're listening to your friend at the supply house who's telling you it's worth 3. And he had a $10 million business and you're a $2 million business and you think an apple is an apple. It's not. So price it correctly based upon the data, folks. 70% or one-time sales is an average multiplier too. That this is one of those cases where that kind of works, but you have to drill a little bit into that number too about who your customers are, total revenue per customer, and the customer type. Don't overprice and sit. That's a bad thing. Deals will stink. That's general advice on every deal. Average employee 5. We talked about selling with the SPA. You can get 3x because people can leverage. Private equity companies do buy this stuff. Here's the multiplier by size. So it's 750 in sales. You're a 1.5 to 1.6, 750 to 1 million, 1.8 to 1.2 or to 2 times, 1 to 1.5 million, 2 to 2.5, 1.5 to 2, 2.5 is 2.5 to 3x multiple. If you want to get a hold of me, quick things, scan this QR code. It'll take you to all my social media information, phone numbers, websites, etc. And of course, the numbers and data are there as well. So again, Mike Shea, Transworld Business Advisors. If you want any more information on this type of business or any others, give me a call.